Hey, Pokedad fan club, it's me, Pokedad, and I'm coming to you with another deck profile. This one is kind of fun, and it is kind of competitive. Um, I think because of Breakpoint, it's going to be better than it was. But let's talk about this. This is the Xerneas Rainbow Force. Sometimes it's known as Rainbow Road deck. Xerneas is a fairy type with 120 HP. And our main attack is Rainbow Force for a fairy energy and a double colorless. Does 10 plus 30 times the number of different Pokemon on your bench. So we play a lot of different types of Pokemon. Now I have to tell you, this deck, I've got to give a shout out to the guys at Omnipoke because this is very similar to their deck. I've only changed a couple cards in here. So I'm going to give them credit for most of this deck, though this is my kind of take on what they did. So we'll talk about the couple changes I made in here. But anyway, we play 4 of the Xerneas. This is our main attacker. This is who we want to be attacking with. The only thing is it takes 2 energy attachments. But the potential for damage here, if we have a bench of 5 different types, we can hit for 160. If we have a muscle band, we can hit for 180. But Golurk is one of the special things about this deck. It's got double type as an ability, and so it acts as both a psychic and a fighting type. And so when you combine, when he comes down to your bench, he actually counts as 2 types. So it's like we're having 6 Pokemon on our bench. So now Rainbow Force does 190 damage. Add that muscle band in and we can hit up to 210, so we can even knock out megas if we need to. Very nice for our Xerneas here. Alright, we play Golurk. Now I will say he's not much of an attacker in this deck, though. Every now and then you do have to charge him up. Usually we can do 2 DCEs. The one good thing about him is he cannot be sniped by bats because he's got Theta Stop. And he can't be put to sleep by Malamar because of Theta Stop. And he does hit other psychic types for weakness. He does 40 more. He can do 80 damage with superpower, but then you can choose to do 40 more damage. And if you do, it does 20 damage to yourself. But since he is a fighting type, he resists the damage that's done to himself. And so therefore, it actually does no damage to you. The only time it would do damage to you is if there was a Hex Maniac or a Garbodor and the double type was taken off. Then he would actually do 20 damage to himself because he would no longer be a fighting type, so he wouldn't resist himself anymore. So the superpower for the most part is always going to do, you want to do 120. If you're going against like Mega Mewtwo, that doubles to 240, so you can use him to help you against other psychic types. But for the most part, we don't use him as an attacker. The main reason we have him in here is for the double type, so that when he comes down, we get 60 damage instead of just 30 from Golett, his pre-evolution. Play a 2-2 line of that, so we want to try to get one of them going. We also play a 2-2 line of Zoroark. I would say Zoroark is probably our secondary attacker, because Mind Jack is still a strong attack. I mean, if they have a bench of 30, of 5, they're going to be hitting for, he's going to be hitting for 160, Muscle Band 180, so we can still one-shot EXs if they choose to fill their bench up, which is kind of cool because what I've noticed as I've played this deck is most people choose to only bench like 2 or 3, so they're only playing with a very limited amount because they don't want the Zoroark to come in and smack them. And which that actually, in a way, kind of, it's almost like a parallel city without even needing to use it, just because they see Zoroark. We do play 2 float stones so that we can actually change in between attackers if we need to. Maybe have a Xerneas in the active who's taken a little bit of damage, and then we retreat him so he comes back down to the bench and we have another one ready to go, or something like that. So stand in, the ability we can use with a float stone to kind of get between attackers. The other cool thing is with him standing in, we play, excuse me guys, 4 max elixirs. And so when you play max elixir, you can look at the top 6 cards of your deck and then pick any basic energy you find and put it on your bench, a basic bench Pokemon. Well, that if you stand in, Zoroark then goes to the active, and then that allows any Xerneas that you have to just put a double colorless on them, and a max elixir can hit one of the energies, and potentially you're hitting for, you have the Xerneas ready to go in one turn. And that's what makes this deck so powerful. The max elixir is what really helps. Alright, we also play 1 Druddigon, again just for a different typing, dragon type in this case. We play 2 Shamans just for setup. Again, we don't really want to have more than 1 on our bench at a time, so really we only want to use 1 of those. We want Auxiliary to kind of help us the rest of the way with Abyssal Hand. So we use him in here again to help us draw. He's kind of helping with the draw power. So between Shaman and him, we have a good amount of draw power. Alright, so let's kind of look. So that's kind of the lineup. I will say Druddigon comes in and helps with the Night March matchup or the Vespiquen matchup, because for just a double colorless, we can hit 90. So if we have a Xerneas but we can't get a second one powered up, we can DCE the Druddigon and we can at least take a Revenge KO on Vespiquen or a Night Marcher. It's kind of cool. Alright, let's get into, we'll talk about our item cards. We don't play a lot of item cards. I guess we play some, but not too many. We play the 4 max elixirs, and I guess those are one of the most important in the deck. Play 1 paint roller. We don't play any stadiums in this deck, so we have 2 cards that kind of help us counter stadiums. The first one is paint roller, and the second one is delinquent. So if they play a stadium out, we're gonna play these to kind of knock them out. Paint roller allows us to draw 1 card, discard their stadium. Sorry guys, it's late. I'll try to get through this pretty quickly. And then secondly, delinquent. Discard their stadium, and then they have to discard 3 cards. But it does use up our supporter slot for the turn. And if we're trying to get powered up with energy, we don't necessarily want to have to use that, though sometimes it's pretty important for us to. Alright, we play 1 Super Rod. As you can imagine, sometimes these pieces end up having to get sycamored away, and so we need to get them back. So we use 1 Super Rod to help us get those back. Play 2 Trainer's Mail. Search the top 4 cards of your deck and put a trainer card in there, except for another Trainer's Mail. So very useful to help us. I wish we could play more, but the deck is already so packed anyway. 4 Ultra Balls to help us get these pieces. It's very important. If we need to get Shaman or Auxiliary or Zoroark or another Xerneas or Golurk or Druddigon or whatever we need, this helps us get those pieces. So Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards and search for any Pokemon in your deck. 4 VS Seekers, because we want to reuse our supporters. Let's look at our tool cards and then I'll talk about the supporters. We play 1 EXP share. Play 2 float stones. The EXP share we try to put on a Xerneas so that when a previous Xerneas gets knocked out, we can put the fairy energy onto that Xerneas and then just double colorless and it's ready to go. 2 float stones, put them on the Zoroarks so we can get stand in and retreat for freely. A muscle band that just helps us hit that 210 KO range if we need it, so we can hit knockout megas, or if we're missing one on the bench, we can still hit 180, and that can help us hit that magic number to knock out an EX. So Alright, let's look at our supporters. We play 3 Bridgets. It's really good to have, if we can get a Bridget early on, allows us to get all of our basic Pokemon, so we can get, let's say if we start a Xerneas, we can get a Zorua, a Golett, and a Remoraid right on the bench, or we can get even another Xerneas if we need to, so that that first Xerneas can begin to already hit pretty hard. If we Ultra Ball for a Shaman, that's another one, and then all we need is one more and we're pretty much ready to go. Once we get that Golurk, now it's like 6 on the bench. So Bridget just helps us get there fast, so we play 3 Bridget. I mentioned the one delinquent again, that's to discard their stadiums. Some of their stadiums are very important. Like if we get hit with Parallel City, we have to find a way to get rid of that. And so that's why I play the delinquent. Otherwise, we just pretty much lose because we can't really hit for enough damage if we get into a Parallel City. And that's one of the big changes I had different from Omnipoke, because if they hit us with a Parallel City, we're pretty much toast. So we have to get back to a bench of 5 if at all possible. Alright, one Lysander. We pretty much are running through everything that we come into, but it's nice to be able to pick off a Shaman right at the end. So if we can Lysander one of the opposing Shamans for the game, that can be really nice. 3 Sycamores just so we can draw through our deck, and 1 Teammates. When one of our Pokemon gets KO'd, we can grab 2 cards to get us going. This can help us to stream attackers, especially if we need like another DCE and something else. Teammates can help us do that. Alright, and then finally we just play 4 DCEs, and we actually want to give us a good chance to hit on the max elixirs. So we actually play 8 of the Fairy Energy. And that's all there is to it. Notice that all of our attackers use just colorless energy except for Xerneas. So Druddigon for a DCE or 2 Fairy can use Revenge. Zoroark can Mind Jack for a DCE, and then Golurk's a little more. We need 2 DCEs, but I've even seen, like one time I did play against a Bats deck. It was a Wobbuffets deck, and so I saw that Golett was on the bench, and I actually attached a Fairy Energy, and then I max elixired it, got another Fairy Energy, and then by turn 2 I was able to put a DCE on the Golurk, and I started punching away at the Wobbuffets, knocking them out, and then the Bats couldn't snipe the Golurk because of the Theta Stomp, and he pretty much scooped after that. So if you can see that you're coming into a Bat deck or something like that, or something where you're going to need Golurk, like maybe a Mega Mewtwo deck, by all means be proactive and use your Max Elixir on Golett before it evolves into the Golurk. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. This is PokeDad signing off. Please hit like, subscribe, and comment below. Thanks a lot guys. Bye.